a colleague, and mostly to me, someone who can also bring to other people his knowledge and his understanding through his teaching. And his journey, just like that song, it takes a long time to kind of find who we are. His journey in mediumship began back in 1997 when both sets of grandparents appeared to him in his room one night. And like I think most sane people, we would have thought, oh my gosh, I've died, I've passed over, I'm the one there greeting them rather than the other way around. But his grandparents were there to ensure him that they would help him in this journey. And since 1997, Richard's been doing that journey. And it has brought him to a lot of places and spaces throughout not only this country, but in the world. Currently, Richard is the vice president of the ISF, which is the International Spiritualist Federation, which maybe he can talk about during our announcements if somebody's interested in joining that. He's also a teacher and a support of the Inner Spiritual Center. He went through the National Association of Spiritualist Churches in learning to be a medium. He has become a commissioned healer, a teacher, and this journey for him is personal, but what he does then, he takes it in his classes and makes it personal for everybody else. So his students feel supported and his students feel the knowledge, but they also feel that they have somebody behind them as they work with either their trance work, whether they work with their trans-physical work or their mental mediumship work. So it is really very much an honor for me that Richard still is part of the Inner Spiritual Center and continues to be a friend. So with that, I would like to introduce to everybody for our today's talk, Reverend Richard Schoeller.
Wherever you are in the world, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to you. It's a privilege and a pleasure to be here with you. Sharon, thank you for the lovely introduction and for the friendship that continues. But this morning, my job is to be of service to all of you, and my prayer is that I serve you well. So with the grace of Spirit, may I serve you well, and let's see what we're going to talk about. In the experience of life and the religion of spiritualism, one of the things that I speak about frequently is that spiritualism teaches that we are a body, soul, and spirit, and that the combination of all three make us, as many of us have said, a spiritual being living a physical experience and a physical being having a spiritual experience. We can use the words semantically and play with them, but I think the most important aspect for me in the evolution of my understanding of spirit and the teachers that work with me and the experiences I have the privilege of having as a medium and as a spiritualist minister, the things that stand out are the lessons that we learn along the way. While the experiences can be moments of, if I might reference them as blazes of magnificence, to have a moment where you're in a space able to connect a relative to someone on the physical plane and have them have an emotional reaction to the information shared by their relative through the medium is a moment of brilliance without question. But when we're not in that space, how do we as spiritualists live in the world? One, I think all of us as people, human beings, because we're attracted to this religion of spiritualism, live by the golden rule. I believe all of us truly try to live with the intention of doing to others as we would want them to do to us. I don't think that's religious. I think that's just a beautiful ethic or ethos or way of living in the world. But religion, spiritualism, the religion teaches us that. So it brings me to wanting to talk about the current day experience, and literally let's bring it into the current moment. And I will always talk about personal experience as a way of illustrating the current moment. You may enjoy hearing me speak, and you may follow me when I serve other churches at times, and I'm honored by that. But what you should know is just like any human being about to step out to do the work. If I lifted my arms, you would see the sweat stains. I'm nervous. The truth of the matter, the very truth of the matter is I, in this moment, am putting myself into a place of trust. All right. And nervousness is not unusual for any human being, whether you're serving a spiritualist platform or you're looking for a new job, or if you're in relation, if it's a good purchase like a car, or so there are many different experiences where we can get nervous, and in our nervousness or our anxiety we might take ourselves out of the present moment. We might take ourselves out of the experience that we know as a spiritualist of being a physical person having a spiritual experience and being a spiritual person having a physical experience. Because in our anxiety, we pull ourselves out of the moment. Barbara Morris's spiritual readings this morning were brilliant, and they were part of what I was contemplating about talking about today. As spiritualists, we have the opportunity to learn how to be in the moment. Now, I always like to share a story with you about personal things. And many of you know I have the privilege of a husband. My husband, John, and I have been together for 27 years. And John's a psychotherapist, and he has in relationship to deal with the moments that I get anxious. Now, I'm going to pause. Whether or not you're in a significant partnership is irrelevant. You always have a friend or somebody who knows you well. How many of you understand what it's like to feel a certain level of anxiety in the world? Good. I'm glad some of you are raising your hands, right? Because part of the human experience, we do in a way take ourselves out of the moment. So John, being my husband and wonderful therapist, decided to gift me a book. And the title of the book is Joan Tollefson's Nothing to Grasp. Okay, Joan Tollefson's Nothing to Grasp. Ask me at the end of the service if you want, I'll type it into the chat room. But right now I want to stay with this. And I'm going to make humor about it because John has read this book. He's reading it again. He loves it because it helps to bring him into the moment. But in relationship, I don't think he gave it to me just for me to help me not feel anxious. I think because of who he is, he gave it to me so that he didn't have to deal with my anxiety. Right? It's a gift for me and it's a gift for him. Isn't that beautiful? So here's the point. I've read the preface and the first chapter so far, and I've read the first chapter now 6 times because my mental mind keeps getting caught up in the words. My mental mind is trying to understand. My mental mind is trying to get the lesson, not that he's trying to get me to get, but the lesson from the author. But what happened was the other day when I was reading it for the 5th time, I was able to let go of my mental mind and to settle in to the experience of what she was sharing due to my sensitivity. Ladies and gentlemen, we are all sensitive human beings. Some of us are working with mediumship. Some of us are working with healing. Some of us are just sensitive, highly sensitive, without necessarily working towards mediumship or healing. That's wonderful. The experience of our sensitivity, when we move out of the mental construct of our mind to try to figure it out, and we get to land into the presence of our being, we get the experience. So here's what's mind-blowing, hysterically crazy, and an oh wow moment, similar to the brilliance I was speaking about earlier. In settling into the beginning, settling in out of the mind and into the experience, my whole body relaxes. Oh, I'm not projecting into the future. Oh, I'm in the moment that she speaks of in the preface. She calls the moment the holy reality. Now, I haven't gotten far into this book, but I love the words, the holy reality. Because this morning when I woke up and I was feeling anxious about the next couple of days, getting ready for Thanksgiving, making sure that I got the right ingredients to be able to bring the appetizer to my sister's house and the right ingredients for the holiday drink that I'm in charge of. And do I need to pick up a dessert? I have to check in with her. I could very easily get caught up in the story of what's happening. Pause that. That's just with the holiday. Imagine if I was feeling anxious about the political world, or if I was feeling anxious about my health, or if I was feeling anxious about the car and the fact that it's dirty, or if I was feeling anxious about the fact that the attic was just re-insulated and all the boxes from the attic are down in the living room and I have to get them back up into the attic before the holiday decorations go out. Do you get a sense of what John lives with? Here's the point. My anxiety, ladies and gentlemen, my discussion with you is to try to make it humorous. It's to try to give you a sense, but tell me one of you is not dealing with any of the things I might have talked about. Tell me one of you isn't feeling anxious about state of affairs around health, around COVID. Tell me one of you isn't feeling anxious about the holidays and trying to do your best. So in using the experiences and my humor to help you to understand what is magnificent about Joan Tollefson's preface to this book, is she speaks about letting go of the mind and bringing ourselves into the holy reality, the reality of the moment. So this morning, while my mind was racing, while I was sitting in bed and I opened the book, all of a sudden I could relax into the experience of what I know from Spirit and what Spirit has taught me in divine connection. I could relax into the moment. And all of a sudden, when I could feel the anxiety of, oh, I've got to pack my bags, I've got to make sure I leave Sharon's at a certain time so I can get home to meet John for dinner. Take a breath in and tell myself, you're not in the holy reality. Breathe, and as I let go of the breath, the concern about getting home in time dissipated. And in the moment, I was thinking, oh my God, I've got to take care of my banking and my bills before Thanksgiving. Take a breath in and remember the words that Joan Tollefson has in her preface, The Holy Reality. And I thought, you're worried about something that will get taken care of. You're going to address this. You've never not addressed this. And I could breathe out, and as I breathed out, land back into the moment being the holy reality, the moment of our divine experience of living on this planet and trying to stay centered, body, mind, and spirit in the space of pure awareness, in the space of awareness of all that is. In her preface, she is brilliant. In the first words of her preface, she states that this is not that you're going to escape cancer, anxiety, depression, that you're not going to get away from concern or joy, but you're going to learn how to live in the space with all of it going on, but not allowing yourself to get caught up in the anxiety of it or get caught up and taken out of the moment, which is the holy reality. Now, I sound like I'm selling her book for her, and that's not the intention. The intention is to say to you, ladies and gentlemen, in the very preface and first paragraph, although it took me 6 times to read it, I finally landed in this awareness. And this is something that spiritualism has been teaching me for 27 years. And it took me 27 years to get it through this experience. So let me bring this back to you. Ladies and gentlemen, how many times have you read something and then reread it and noticed upon the first reading you didn't catch what you caught on the second reading? That's not unusual to any one of us. So let's take it away from reading and look at our growth as spiritualists. How many of you now know things that you missed when you were 16, 17, and 18? How many of you now have a deeper connection to your spiritual self due to your exploration that you didn't have when you were 22? Right? In this experience of life, And in our evolution as spiritualists, we have the great good fortune to have a connection to spirit, and in moments, perhaps, if we're fortunate, get a gentle kick in the behind from spirit to remind us that we're not in the holy reality, if I can use Joan Tollefson's words again. If it takes you 7 times to read something, or 7 times to hear something, or 7 times to relax into something and get it, let's say a big amen, brother and sister, that you got it in the 7th time. It doesn't matter how many times you have to read or experience something. What matters is in the evolution of your soul on this planet is that you get it. So that when you do cross from this life into the next life with the grace of good fortune and infinite spirit, you won't have to do it again and again and again. Now, my prayer, I've got many of them, but my prayer is that when I cross over, I do have the awareness that the anxiety that I carry in this world, I've worked with enough to let it go. And I pray that I can turn to my husband and say, thank you, sweetheart. You taught me one of the greatest lessons in this life. I'll probably still say it to him because I love the man still. So I'll say it anyway to make him feel good, even if I didn't learn it completely. But the point of this is not about telling him I love him or how great he is. The point of this is about truly getting within ourselves, that in the moment that we can relax from the mental construct of our mind and not spin the story of our mind, and breathe and relax and settle down into our physical presence and being. And if I may again, stay in the holy reality of the moment. Even if I have gum on my shoe, or even if, heaven forbid, I was about to say my fly was open and I'm going to say it. Okay, forgive me. But even if I had the experience where I would find something utterly embarrassing, that I could still laugh at it, because in our imperfection and in the moment of the holy reality, we can recognize all is perfect as it is. And I'll take that other reference one step further. If it gets you to laugh, so be it. Let me be the clown. I think Charlie Chaplin's words, and Barbara's speaking of Charlie Chaplin's words this morning, were brilliant. And I'm deeply grateful for Barbara for being inspired in that way. And ladies and gentlemen, I hope if you get to see me and I'm still on this planet for another 25 years and we see each other at other services, that you'll be able to look and laugh and say, wow, I remember when you said this. And it helped me, not because I want to hear it for myself, but it helps me to then feel further reassured that I'm serving spirit in a way that feels profound and meaningful, not for my sake, but for yours. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish you a beautiful Sunday. Thank you for allowing me to serve you and to serve spirit this morning.
Richard, thank you.